In the medieval world, death rarely came suddenly. It arrived slowly through empty cellars, spoiled grain, and forgotten winter stores. Two families could live in the same village under the same sky, yet one survived into old age while the other quietly vanished. The difference was not strength, not wealth, but something hidden beneath their homes. Food storage was not convenience, it was the medieval system that decided who lived longer and who did not.
Medieval life was a precarious balance between abundance and scarcity. Villagers relied on the cycles of seasons, and what grew in the summer had to last through the harsh winter months. There were no supermarkets, no refrigerators, and certainly no guarantees. Life expectancy was largely determined not by warfare or disease alone, but by the ability to prepare and protect the human body against months of cold, hunger, and exhaustion. In every village, households faced the same threat. If their food stores failed, their bodies weakened, and survival became a fight that could last weeks or months. Harvests were unpredictable. A rainy season could ruin grains, a pest infestation could destroy stored vegetables, and the lack of proper preservation methods could turn a seemingly stable supply into a deadly liability. Families that planned ahead, who salted meat, dried grains, and stored root vegetables in cellars, created an invisible shield around their health. Those without proper storage did not immediately die, but the lack of reliable nutrition caused gradual weakening. Bones became brittle, immune systems faltered, and minor illnesses often became fatal. In essence, the medieval body's survival depended not just on immediate consumption, but on a well-maintained network of stored nourishment. Children born into households with reliable storage survived winters far more often than those in unprepared homes. Elders, who might have lived long lives under good conditions, were at the mercy of poor storage. This was not luck, it was preparation. Even within the same village, survival rates could differ dramatically between households with well-managed food reserves and those who left life to chance. Medieval life, therefore, was a testament to the critical importance of storage. It was not just convenience, it was life itself.
Food storage in the medieval world functioned as a protective system for the human body. Salted meats, dried grains, and stored vegetables did more than satisfy hunger. They maintained strength, energy, and resilience. The human body requires consistency, and the absence of regular, reliable food slowly erodes the capacity to fight off infections, repair tissues, and sustain mental alertness. In households with organized storage, families maintained stability, while those without fell victim to malnutrition, fatigue, and premature aging. Root cellars, clay jars, and wooden barrels were carefully prepared to maximize longevity of food. These storage methods minimized exposure to moisture, pests, and temperature fluctuations. Every preserved item was an investment in health. Medieval people may not have understood vitamins or microbes, but they knew survival required predictable nourishment. Grains stored too long or in damp conditions would grow mold and poison the body, showing that storage failures were not abstract, they directly impacted longevity. Access to stored food also shaped community dynamics. Families that could maintain their reserves often survived disease outbreaks better, as consistent nutrition strengthened the body against infections. Illnesses that might cripple a poorly fed body became manageable for those with preserved provisions. Storage thus acted as an early, invisible healthcare system, designed not by doctors, but by careful planning, foresight, and the rhythms of agricultural life.
The difference between life and early death often lay in the quality of storage. Within villages, there were striking patterns. Families who rotated grain, protected their stores from moisture, and kept food safe from pests consistently outlived those who did not. It wasn't always wealth or social status that determined survival. It was discipline, knowledge of preservation, and the physical capacity to maintain stores. Children's health reflected this immediately. Malnourished children suffered delayed growth, weakened immunity, and were more likely to succumb to infections. Elders without reliable nutrition lost strength, became prone to illness, and frequently passed away earlier than their better prepared neighbors. Each barrel of grain or salted meat symbolized a small extension of life, a buffer against the harsh winters, famine, and disease that stalked the medieval world. Survival depended less on immediate combat against threats and more on quiet, sustained preparation. In some ways, food storage became a hidden measure of power. Not the power to fight armies, but the power to protect the body, extend lifespan, and ensure generational continuity. Families with strong storage systems passed down knowledge and physical resilience, creating cycles of longevity. Conversely, households that failed to prioritize preservation often saw repeated early deaths, a tragic consequence invisible to the untrained eye, but clear in historical records. Despite careful planning, storage was never foolproof. Spoilage, mold, rodents, and damp cellars were constant threats. A single failure could destabilize months of preparation, gradually weakening the human body. Malnutrition did not always cause immediate death. It quietly eroded strength, slowed recovery, and shortened the lifespan. In medieval villages, it was often slow starvation combined with disease that claimed lives. The failure of storage highlighted the body's dependence on predictable nutrition. Families who suffered this fate experienced a domino effect. Children became weaker, adults fell ill more often, and elders lost years of life. The medieval world taught that survival was not just about avoiding accidents or wars, it was about sustaining the body through consistent, reliable nourishment. Health was tied directly to storage. Every spoiled barrel, every forgotten sack of grain represented a lost year of life or a decline in physical resilience. Even the strongest warriors were vulnerable without food. Storage failure left bodies incapable of recovery from injuries or illness. It was a silent, often invisible killer that decided who lived longer. The lessons of medieval life were clear. The body's survival was a product of preparation, patience, and protection, not just courage or skill. Ultimately, food storage functioned as the medieval health system. It was silent, invisible, and decisive. Unlike medicine or herbs, it acted preemptively, strengthening the body before illness struck. Modern life obscures this truth, but medieval longevity depended on preparation, foresight, and careful management of limited resources. Barrel by barrel, jar by jar, families built invisible shields that maintained strength through winters, disease outbreaks, and periods of scarcity. The longest-lived households were not necessarily the wealthiest or the most powerful. They were the ones who respected the rhythms of nature, understood preservation, and safeguarded their bodies through consistent nourishment. Medieval food storage was a measure of life itself. It was the silent guardian of the human body, deciding not just who survived a season, but who lived to grow old. In a world without modern medicine, this simple act of preparation was the ultimate key to longevity.